One of the things the New Testament speaks about is demons. One of the things that we mention in the Nicene Creed, or otherly known as our profession of faith, mentions, I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible. St. Paul mentions in Ephesians, our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. And finally, St. John says, we know that we are God's children, that the whole world lies under the power of the evil one. For it is important for us to see that we were rescued by Christ through his church, and every sacrament we receive and continue to receive, where all the sacraments act as the finger of God, where God's divine power acts upon our soul to sanctify and save us. At every baptism, the devil is cast out, and the Spirit of God comes to dwell in that person. And this is the importance of parents raising their children in the faith, because we must remember, after the Hebrews were set free from Pharaoh did not let them go easily or sit idle, but he chased after them. And it's the same with the devil. Will always pursue souls who are baptized. And the Catechism mentions beautifully, after baptism is when the battle begins. Once we're freed from Satan's grasp, it's important that we learn how to die to sin through a life of prayer, penance, and receiving the sacraments with this true, authentic desire to grow in holiness. And this is why the saints understood that when they were battling against the 7 deadly sins, they were primarily battling against demonic suggestions. Along with their own fallenness or tendency towards sin, it was not just their human weakness, but an unseen wickedness that sought to drag them down. We must understand demons were created good, but by their bad will they became evil, similar to men, and rejected God's reign over them, and through this they began to roam the earth, hating all that is good. They seek to bring us down and lead us astray from Christ, and this is the point of being a devout Christian. As we see in Job, God gives Satan a certain leash to where he can act on the body and test our hearts to see if we truly want to be faithful to God and follow his commandments, or we just want good things from him, such as heaven. And this is why demons can act upon the body, the cognitive power, the imagination, the memory, the senses, and even our appetites. But they primarily affect our imagination, where they can even draw up our past life or past sins to try to bring us into despair or doubt that we were forgiven, or to even tempt us into sin. They can affect our imagination. And one of the most important things that demons do is they seek to cause confusion instead of clarity in our thoughts about what is sinful and what is not. They try to get us to rationalize around what we know is wrong and to make excuses for our sins instead of confessing them. And finally, they distort our judgment to make us seem better than we are, or worse. If we have the infection of pride, we wonder why we confess our sins at every Mass. And if we suffer from the infection of despair, the demons make us think the devil or our sins are equal to the power of Christ's saving sacrifice. For every sacrament received humbly and wholeheartedly is a moment of joy and an experience of God's redeeming power present in our lives.